Night 5 of The Bachelor is in the books. 3 hour episode tonight. We are back on Wednesday for another 2 hours. And this didn't really feel like a night that 3 hours was necessary. You know, for how much drama we've just been driving all season long, tonight almost felt like a letdown. And like on a normal season, this would have been like a good episode. But we've just been so used to just mass levels of drama. It was almost, as a viewer, disappointing in a way. We started off the night with Peter just immediately nipping the Alayah story in the bud. Hopefully, she's actually gone this time. I mean, she already was a bachelor first by just deciding, you know what, I'm just going to come back. And then Peter just being like, hey, you want to join the house? So, like, who else is going to show up? Like, we haven't seen Hannah Brown for a while. Like, maybe she could swing on by, join the house for the final 10. As a viewer, I'd be down with that. I think I like Hannah Brown better than any of the other women left on the show. It's just been so much negativity all season long. After Alayah goes home, the women were still furious with Peter. It made no sense. They were all like, Peter, you got to do this thing or we're not going to be happy. Then Peter goes and does the thing and they're still not happy. Except for Victoria P. I don't know if anybody else out there noticed, but she did the world's fastest 180. Like that, as a viewer, is just screaming red flags to me. That someone can just turn it on that fast, it's not okay. And then the women finally got some fantastic news, possibly the biggest news of the whole season. They were leaving Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, right, and 3 women went home. 3 hours later, I can't even remember their names. Sorry, Savannah, Deandra, and Kiara. And we were off to Costa Rica. And what happens? Peter explodes his head in possibly the most tragic accident in all of Bachelor history. You know, they showed the security cam footage. Like he made it sound like this like little innocent accident, but like when they showed that security footage, I cringed. Like he really took that cup in the head hard. And who was the doctor that they got to stitch that thing up? Like it just looks like he's just got some like silly putty plastered to his head. Like did they just go to the drywaller that was renovating part of the hotel they're at and he just slaps some spackle on it, taps it up and he's like, "Yeah, Peter, don't worry about it. No scar, no scar." Well, we've all seen Peter floating around doing the late night shows. He most definitely does have a scar. So that drywaller, don't go to him when you have a gigantic 22 stitch gash in your head. Oh, okay. Back to our regularly scheduled program. So Sydney and Peter get the first one-on-one date in Costa Rica. The date actually went pretty well. One thing I really took away from it is they have a very strong sexual chemistry, and I'm not sure if that's really the driving force of their relationship. But that's one thing that we can hopefully start to see now. Like, is Peter just keeping around the women that he is most physically attracted to, or is he starting to find the women who he's really connecting with? And for Sydney, I'm not totally seeing that they're having like a very deep relationship, but they're obviously very attracted to each other as we saw them make out. We'll use some air quotes there. Make out in that hot tub for who knows how long. They were in the hot tub, out of the hot tub, into another pool. I mean, I didn't see her hands for a while, not saying anything, but I think there was a little bit more than just kissing going on there. So Sydney, you won some major points this week with Peter. And then we were on to our group date. And the group date this week just had a really weird vibe to it. I think all the drama going around, everyone's just been feeling so starved for time. Everyone felt like they needed to capitalize on this moment. And then for whatever reason, most of them just were unable to. We see that they're going for a photo shoot with Cosmo. And like you can immediately pick out the women who are going to do really well in this. It's like, oh, Hannah Ann, you're a model. You're going to do well in this. Victoria F and Victoria P, like as soon as it was announced, you didn't just see them, they just look at each other and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is perfect for us." And of course, really it came down to Victoria F and Hannah Ann to kind of be the stars of the show today. I think we've lost that innocent Victoria F we had at the start of the season. She's gone, so maybe that was just all a bunch of BS possibly. So we have this group date. The only real drama that got started here was Tammy called out Kelsey because when Sydney and Peter had gone for their one-on-one date, Kelsey just got drunk and just cried at the pool. And as we've seen from right at night one with Champagne Gate, Kelsey has just been extremely emotional. And you know, that shouldn't be something that you just say like, "Oh, you're an extremely emotional person, you're not cut out for this, or you shouldn't be in a relationship." That's not really what we're saying here, but just the way that she's getting emotional and lashing out against people just is not coming off the right way. And then afterwards, she comes and confronts people. We saw this earlier in the season with Kelsey and Hannah Ann, where really her whole conversation with Hannah Ann was her basically just sitting there waiting for an apology. And then we see Kelsey and Tammy, they go head to head. Kelsey trying to just have her way in the conversation. And that's not how a relationship or a friendship or any conversation that you ever have with another person should go. If there's only one side to any sort of argument or conversation, that's not that really a conversation or a relationship. So Kelsey just pulls off a classic Bachelor move. We have one every season. It's the move where one contestant is just like, "You know what? I'm just going to go talk to the Bachelor, Bachelorette." And she goes, she tells her side of the story to Peter, and all of a sudden we have the accusations ramp up from being, you know, she got drunk and just cried, to being, "Oh yeah, by the way, Tammy said I was an alcoholic, mentally unstable, and also popping pills all this time." And as a viewer, we're all sitting there like, "What? I didn't see any of that conversation. That was not what Tammy said to Peter, not even in the least." And all of a sudden, Tammy just becomes like public enemy number one. And it was very shocking how quickly all the women went from revolting against Kelsey and being like, "Oh, we're so over Kelsey and her being so over emotional and all the extra drama and stress that she's bringing to the house," and everyone saying like, "You know, we're all going through this same experience," to all of a sudden being like, "Tammy, you can't talk about another person like that." And it was just like, what? Like, how did this 180 so fast? Like, we're almost starting to see that there's like little cliques within the contestants that are just going to start like going at each other. It's very, very bizarre. And Tammy, it seemed like she just had no one left on her side. And yeah, she is now definitely public enemy number one. And that being said, you know, Tammy, you made a fatal Bachelor error, and that's you don't go to the Bachelor, Bachelorette and talk about other people. Like, I don't know where that came from for Tammy. There was no need for it, especially when everyone has been complaining about how little time they've been getting with Peter, and you use your time to talk about and complain about somebody else. Yeah, leave that for Cheyenne at the end of the episode when she just randomly torpedoes everyone and then walks out the door. Thanks for that, Cheyenne. We did really appreciate that. Kelly got a one-on-one date this week. You know, we haven't seen a lot from Kelly since the first episode. We all know the story. Peter and Kelly met before The Bachelor started airing. They had an immediate connection. She wasn't really sure if she should do the show, and meeting him kind of set her over the edge and made her commit to doing the show. And they had a very strong connection right out of the gate. She gets the rose on one of the early group dates that happens to be in the hotel that they met. And then as soon as all the drama in the house started flaring up, Kelly was gone. She evaporated to the background. We weren't getting sound bites from her. All we were doing was seeing her in the background at group dates and rose ceremonies. So today she gets her one-on-one date, and Peter really raked her over the coals. We haven't seen Peter really go after somebody like that in a conversation before. Like, if you compare that to the conversation with Sydney, where yes, Sydney does pour her heart out to Peter and tells her story, but Peter wasn't grilling Sydney. You know, earlier in the season, Peter wasn't grilling Victoria F or Victoria P. And that's either a sign that Peter is very serious about Kelly or really questioning things. And you could see that he was very clearly fishing for certain answers, and I don't think he got them. But as the conversation progressed, seemed like Peter was just looking for like any sort of commitment from Kelly, that she was all in on this process, and trying to repeatedly convince her, like, you need to commit to this process. It works, I promise you. I don't really know if their relationship is in a better place or a worse place. Like, usually when you get a one-on-one date, you jump to the top of the pack. And that is not what happened with Kelly. Like, she was already, in my opinion, one of the front runners, but she did not solidify her case in Peter's mind that she's the one. And then Peter does a classic Peter thing we're learning, just canceling a party. So he just cancels the cocktail party, and you see there are so many women who have really just not had a conversation with him. Like, when was the last time we really saw McKenna and Peter talk? I don't know if we have all season. We saw them aggressively make out at on night one, but that's their relationship. You know, we have Lexi. You know, there's a red car. I don't know if Peter likes the red car or he likes Lexi. Like, I don't know if there's any distinguishing between the two in Peter's mind. You know, he might be thinking, you know, I could pick one of these other women and still get the red car. Win-win. And you can just see all the women are devastated that there's no cocktail party. And it seemed very bizarre to me for Peter to want to get things back on track. It felt very unnecessary for that party to be canceled, because him canceling the party just raises more drama and more questions in the house. And obviously we're leading towards a big head-to-head probably between Kelsey and Tammy next week. Our two women going home, Sheann, who I mentioned earlier, and Lexi, who, you know, there just wasn't much there. I mean, we didn't see anything from Lexi. You know, maybe she's a nice woman, but we don't know because we never learned anything about her. Like I said, all our association was with Lexi, red sports car. That's it. You know, where's she from? What does she do? Does she have a nice family? Does she want we don't know any of that because none of those conversations ever happened. You know, I kind of thought Sheann was going to make it a little farther. We haven't seen anything there between Peter and Cheyenne either. So I wasn't really surprised by either of those two going home. I thought that McKenna and Tammy were also right on the block there. And, you know, now we're back on Wednesday for more drama. And I think that's it for this episode, Bachelor Nation. Hopefully you liked my recap. I'm sure I probably missed some stuff, but we'll see you more this week for more Bachelor.